associative limb, and it was clearly inappropriate. One of the difficulties, so the rest is history. The book got published, and I would say it was very well received. For one thing, we didn't come out and name a suspect. I think the book would have been a lot better received if Graysmith had not had not come out with his second book just before ours got released, and I think it was called The Zodiac Revealed, in which he identifies, he said, and the whole world was prepared to believe the case that he presented. And so, the case is solved, and here's the solution. So you can imagine how that undercut the market for our book, which is just kind of too bad that happened.
Well, also, a lot of people really didn't like that book you mentioned earlier, and they didn't want to buy another one after that. It got horrible reviews.
Yeah. So our book seemed to be well reviewed, and certainly in this community, it's gotten good support. Well, that's 6 years ago. Now I have to tell you, I lead a very diverse life and have lots of other interests besides this. And for me, it was a flash in the pan, because, as I say, I was not a follower of serial killers, was not steeped in the literature on the psychology of all of that. But I was trained as a clinical psychologist, and it was inclined towards what might be called depth psychology. So that, I'm one of those psychologists who believes in the unconscious, and that a lot of what we do is driven by the unconscious and influenced by people like Freud and Jung, among others. And so I sort of drew upon that. And also, I've always been an avid reader of mysteries, of fiction, crime fiction. So that was probably in there somewhere as well. The interesting thing that's happened is that as time has gone on, I've been contacted by a number of people saying, "I know who the Zodiac is. You have described him to a T." And what I realized, one of the things that's really fascinating about this case, and I guess about our book, is it's kind of a Rorschach test, that certainly the picture that emerges from the book, in the way that Michael and I portray him, is, I guess, a very accurate and somewhat generalized picture of a psychopath, of the psychopathic personality. And evidently there are enough of those folks out there in the world that most of us kind of know one. I sort of had the feeling as I was working on the book, I could understand this guy. I wanted to put myself in this guy's skin. That was my approach, was to say, okay, let me try, because I don't believe that any of us are so different from one another that we are qualitatively different. It's more sort of quantity, I think. In other words, I think that we all have anger and aggression and hostile impulses, and if things had gone a little differently in our lives, maybe any one of us could have been a killer. I don't know. But I think that the unconscious dynamics that are there are probably present at some level for all of us. So I was willing to proceed on that kind of an assumption and figure that, in some way I'm going to be able to identify with this guy and feel my way into his psyche. There were a couple of questions that came up for me in that process. One was, hey, I'm talking about this guy's mama. What if he's out there, and he decides to come after me? And so that did feel like a little bit of a risk, but it was one that, I took it. And then the other thing that seemed like a risk was, hey, if I really succeed in putting myself sort of psychically into this guy's skin, what's that going to do to my psyche? Am I going to suffer from nightmares? Am I going to end up getting traumatized by this experience? So I was a little bit nervous about that possibility. As it turned out, I think I had only one nightmare in connection with it. I don't remember it, but I do remember waking up with a start and a fright once. And other than that, it was okay. And as a matter of fact, as I continued to move through the letters, there was a way in which, if all the letters are authentic, and we don't know, there are people who say that some of those later letters, in fact, were forgeries and so on. But, you know, I found some sympathy in a certain way. And it was not inconceivable to me that the Zodiac, whoever he was, might have sought out some mental health professional at some point along the way and maybe received a somewhat sympathetic ear. I don't know. But at any rate, because we did such a good job of depicting a psychopath, then periodically I hear from people who say, okay, I know who it is. It's my father, or it's my neighbor. And these people are impassioned. I remember one call from a young woman who felt certain that she had been hitchhiking in the San Francisco Bay Area, and that she had been picked up by him, and that the situation got a little dicey, but she wasn't attacked, and she kind of got away. So there was that story.
Some are impassioned and some are insane. Some of these people.
Well, I don't know. You know, I sort of treat them all evenly, and what I've gotten from them is a lot of gratitude that I was willing to hear them out, to take them seriously, to not dismiss them out of hand. But at the same time, I've had to tell them, look, I'm not empowered. You know, usually I say, have you gone to the police with this? Have you gone to the authorities? And have you spoken to Tom Voigt? Go to zodiackiller.com.
That's how I know that some of them are insane. Because I had to.
Okay, well, the first person I'm going to introduce is Nancy Slover. And what I have here is early in the morning of July 5th, 1969, not long after the shooting, a young couple in the parking lot of Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, California, the Zodiac serial killer used a payphone to call the police and brag about what he'd just done. The person who answered the call at the police station was a woman named Nancy Slover. Their phone call changed Nancy's life forever. In late 1969, Nancy did one media interview about her experience, and then she faded into obscurity, all the while fearful that she might herself become a target of the Zodiac killer. In 2006, Nancy was located by Tom Voigt, the webmaster of ZodiacKiller.com. Since then, Nancy has been actively involved with the website and has even been featured on television shows such as Haunting Evidence on True TV. She's even played herself in the blockbuster film Zodiac, directed by the Bay Area's own David Fincher. Oh, I didn't realize that. Nancy's here today to speak about her unique perspective on the Zodiac mystery. Ladies and gentlemen, Nancy Slover. Where are you, Nancy?
Hi, everybody. I saw in the show of hands that a lot of you were not there the last time at the last meeting when I spoke. I had debated about whether going over, rehashing that or not. But anyway, I will. I'll start where I did then. And my opening line is usually, if I look a little lopsided to you, it's because I am. I have a movement disorder and I look to the left. So people on the right of me will have to get my attention if I don't see them. The night, actually, July 4th, 1969, I had worked the